Raise your hand if you've been to any of our workshops before. Crazy year, I get it, I know. So doctor means teacher, that's why we do these things. In fact, I've spoke to probably 60 different companies and businesses around town, workshops, churches. This year I've even done some Zoom meetings, which I don't particularly enjoy because I like to see humans. But at least I guess you can see people's faces, which is nice. So the reason we do this is, the whole idea is, yes, chiropractic is awesome. It's a huge part of our life, but there's a lot of things that our primary care, our pediatrician, they don't give, and certainly not our government doesn't give us these little tips and tricks to help you live your life healthier and better, right? It's just, somehow it's just missing. And mostly because I'm not here, by the way, I'm not selling you anything. There's nothing to sell you tonight. It's literally just so that you can hopefully grasp onto some of this information and then take some action, and then ideally your life is better tomorrow or next month or certainly next year by doing this. And so we tend to have a workshop every month, every other month on a different topic. Obviously this one's on allergies because in 2 weeks all these trees are gonna turn yellow. It's gonna be all over our cars with a half an inch of yellow dust on there, and then everyone's gonna be coming in puffy, swole, looking like this guy, right? Raise your hand if you've been that guy. Has anyone else here been that guy, right? I know I have. If you're cleaning the yard and whatnot, we'll talk about that, but it's pretty dang miserable. And then we add to what's going on in this world right now, right? And you don't want to be that person at Costco who's snorting and sniffling and hacking up a lung. You're like a leper, right? You don't want to be that person. So we're gonna give you some hacks that you can do naturally to help your body kind of defeat these things. And so we're gonna go kind of break it into two different ways, like a short-term strategy, like, hey, my life is miserable now, like what can I do? And then kind of like a longer-term like approach, which is kind of how we should do life in general anyhow, but because we are what we repeatedly do, right? So these are big, a lot of people have them. This is a tiny group. In fact, the reason we got this building is because in years past, we've had 50, 60 people in here. Obviously that can't be the case right now. We're getting there though, we're getting closer. So this is not a rare thing when it comes to allergies, 1 in 3. It's costing us billions of dollars a year, not to mention if we talk about the time off of work, right? Billions and billions of dollars a year, not to mention the lost productivity, which is kind of hard to quantify. On top of that, kiddos with parents who have, these are all stats that we can look up and I can show the references, but parents or children with parents who have allergies are more likely to have allergies. And so there's probably multiple factors that go into that, but it's a thing. And then can anyone give me an idea of why a C-section child or baby might be more prone to allergies and asthma? Okay. Cool, all right, good, new information. So we're learning something. So think of the normal birth process, right? Down the birth canal, right? And out into the open world, right? And so when we do that, this sounds gross, but we're going through that birth canal and we're getting our first dose of probiotics, right? Think of your first immunization, if you will, right? And so you're getting some of mom's bacteria and flora into you, and you kind of even inhale some of that stuff. And so that kind of like jump starts your immune system. And we're not going to go into today Th2 versus Th1 immune system. We have two different types. We hyperinflate one side now today with vaccines. That's Th2 versus Th1. That's why we have so many sickly kids where you cough on them, they get it because they don't have that initial defense system, because that's kind of earned and built over time, right? So put that one in the memory banks. What are we commonly doing right now for allergies, right? And so in years past we've had this, and most people who are regular allergy sufferers, my wife being one of them, she used to get the shots, and they do the 18 different patches and everything like that that they do for testing. But on top of that, you kind of get the basics here, right? Sure, you can be natural, and you can also be natural and miserable. So you can be natural, stay inside, but then what does that give you, right? We saw how fun it is to stay inside these days, right? Not that great. So antihistamines, right? This is not my opinion. You just read it on there. In the medical literature, they like to call them, people oftentimes, they call them side effects. But let's just be honest, they're just other effects, right? You have the intended effect, and then you have the other effects. And so that you hope that the intended effect is better than the other effects, right, down the way. So antihistamines, decongestants, steroids, especially right now, as steroids, is that something that you want to be taking chronically right now? No. Steroids, they make us big, and then they squash our immune system, especially over time, right? And so that's why typically people who are on these type of, especially like prednisone, big dogs, right? They have to at least cycle through them because it's such a burden on your immune system and on your body. So, big factor there. So, our goal, I'm not saying that medications are never necessary. We've been very blessed. This is how we raise our kids. My wife and I, we had them at home. No, they never had drugs in their body. But if my daughter split her eye open, right above her eye. And so, yeah, she had some numbing agents there. It's not like we're against all drugs all the time. It's just, we can all be honest that I think America uses more drugs than any other country in the world, right? And yet, well, we know with this COVID thing that we're one of the sickest countries in the world, right? And so, it's not working for our healthcare. Our goal at this office is kind of reduce your dependency on just going to that mirrored cabinet inside your master bedroom or bathroom. Right? What's that mirrored bathroom cabinet called again?
Medicine chest.
Propaganda. Are you healthy, or that thing's chock full or empty? Right? We can look at, you can look in the mirror, you can have six-pack abs and look beautiful, right? But if you're requiring to take 5 different medications just to kind of keep your life quote-unquote normal versus the other person who doesn't have to require that, right? Who's the healthier individual, right? We aren't, I always tell people we don't have headaches because of a lack of Tylenol, right? These are malfunctions in the body, and we got to figure out what's actually causing them. So, this way. Speaking of causes, back to the basics. That's why I had this out here all day today. When you inhale some of that yellow snow that'll be out there pretty soon, or let's say you're blowing off the driveway like I often do, right? And all that dust is in there and you inhale that stuff, right? It works like this. It comes in, gets in that gland, your gland's like, what the heck? I don't like that. Sends a signal to the brain. Brain sends a signal back into there and it says, okay, let's stuff it up, let's produce some histamine, we have something that came in that shouldn't be in, let's get it out, right? I mean, intelligence, that's happening here all the time, right? So in, and we got to get it out, right? It's a sensory mechanism, and then it has an afferent, a signal that tells it what to do. This is our nervous system. So when life happens, and nowadays, most of us are spending hours upon hours doing this or this. I'm guilty, right? I'm bending over patients. I have a cell phone. We all do, right? This is not the blame game. But when you put all that kind of stress and tension on the body and shift things out of position, it's like we're in these masks, and that communication is decreased. So that's first and foremost. Make sure that it's not just a circuit breaker problem, because that yellow stuff is there, but not everyone raised their hand that they have allergies all the time, right? So why is it that you might have allergies but your spouse doesn't? Or your kid might and you don't? Why is that, right? It's not necessarily just the product, the thing that got into your nose or your eyes or your skin, right? It's how your body's able to adapt to that new allergen. So that's number one. Number two is leaky gut syndrome. And so you can spend a whole workshop on this thing, but ultimately your body, because of lots of reasons, you may have a more porous gut lining. This allows things that are supposed to only stay in your gut tube all the way from top to bottom. Some of those particles can get out, and your body now senses them and ultimately can kind of fire an immune system reaction against them. And so sometimes this happens, one of the reasons that this may happen is from, or may happen more often, would be from processed foods. Another one is perhaps a child having food too early in life would be another one, where their body's not quite sealed yet. And that's why there should be a progression of what a child eats. They're not going straight to Jack Daniels when they're 6 months old, right? So they kind of progress a little bit through there. But ultimately, this put your immune system on high alert chronically. Chronically high alert. So now the littlest bit of stuff wafts into your nose, I sweep a little bit, and now, boom, huge reaction, because it's already like primed and ready to go, right? Because we did that by having an unsealed gut, right? The same can be true with this subluxation or with that loss of communication, right? That's why so many people, they get awesome results with allergies and chiropractic care, regular chiropractic care, is because they're better communicating, so their baseline, their threshold is gonna be higher, right? So they're gonna have to have a lot more crap in the air for them to have that reaction, because they're not like, you know, hair trigger ready to go, right? Because that communication is better. And then obviously what's out there, right? So if you're, you know, snorting your windshield, right? Every one of us is gonna have a problem with that, right? Because it's just the vast quantity, right, of allergens that we're gonna get into a place that they shouldn't have gotten in the first place, right? And so these are all, you know, ultimately triggers, but what triggers us individually is gonna be a little bit different, right? And so, you know, yes, you can do an allergen test, and we all could do that, or you can just start to listen to your body. And whether it's this workshop or the nutrition workshop, we start talking about what foods you can eat, and some people are more sensitive to certain foods than other people and that type of thing, right? You just gotta realize, like, what can't I, or what really aggravates me? And then that way you can be a little bit more hyper-focused on and diligent about removing that or minimizing that in your life versus the other thing. So hopefully this is kind of triggering some ideas in your head. So short-term natural relief, no doubt about it. If you're all plugged up and stuffed up in here, even when it was like with the weather and the sinus headaches and all that kind of stuff, a solid upper cervical adjustment, boom. A lot of people, you'll just feel that draining, and that's some of the biggest relief that you can get. Works better than that nasal decongestant, because it's just your body doing the right thing and trying to get it out of there, right? Prone cervical rotation. So many of you guys, in fact probably most of you guys, have this on your home exercise sheet. Does anyone know what this exercise is? So we're dealing with this upper cervical area right through here. Glands of the face, mucous membranes, nerves that go to the head and cranium. In bed or on the floor, thumbs out, and rotation. By doing this, you're getting some motion in that upper cervical spine. Most of that motion, most of the rotation in your neck is coming from C1, mostly C1. And so by doing that, you're gonna get some irritation, some stress off those nerves. I can almost guarantee if you wake up with like a stiff neck, and you stuffy head and neck, and you start doing that, you'll start noticing some drainage, right? It's a great thing. Second one on that one is the lateral cervical flexion. So like that one, it's gonna be a little more challenging with the kids with the coordination. You'll have to kind of work on it, right? Although adults do coordination on this one as well. But it's lateral flexion off the bed. And again, you're almost acting like a manual pump to kind of flush the lymph and the eustachian tube kind of down. And so you'll get some natural relief. So me, personally, like this happens like if I eat gluten or if I have too much dairy, I'll get all mucousy and congested. If I start doing these exercises in the morning, drink some like hot tea, all of a sudden it just starts draining so much better, right? And so easy things so you don't have to go immediately and run and take a medication. Nutty Pot. Who here owns a Nutty Pot? Oh, two of us. Okay. Okay. Cool. This is a Nutty Pot. So Nutty Pot, great for nasal flushing. So especially if you are, you know, that grass is all yellow out there right now, and it's definitely going to kick. If you run through that right now or ride your bike through that, you're going to be kicking up all that sort of stuff. So I recommend a good nasal flush with a Nutty Pot, where warm, not hot, warm water, salt in here, and it goes in one nostril and it comes out the other, which is really cool, boys. Really cool. My kids love to watch it when I do that. And in and then out. It's almost like a magic trick. And that literally physically rinses some of those sensitive membranes. Now, personally, if I do that and I don't do something after that, I kind of feel like it dries them out, especially here in our climate. So I like to combine that one with the coconut oil in the nose, which I didn't bring out here. And so I literally just, it sounds gross, but if you know that you're going to an outside park, if you know that you're gonna be cleaning or playing out in the yard, easy for the kids, easy for the adults, super inexpensive. Get a little jar of coconut oil, the old finger swab, choop, 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 choop. And it's like a protective barrier in there. It calms those sensitive and irritated tissues down. And it's just like, that'd be one of the easiest things that you can do. And you can tell your friends and loved ones who suffer, a little bit of coconut oil on your finger and spread it around in there. You're not jamming it way up in there, but just in there. So that way it's going to be the first thing that kind of picks up some of those allergens, right? And it's going to kind of calm those tissues down. So activated charcoal. Has anyone ever consumed this? Yes, ma'am.
Good question. How often would you recommend doing the Nutty Pot? Could you do it? Is there like a limit? Can you do it every day or?
Yeah, like during allergy season, or if you're doing like a long weekend, or you go, you're camping for 5 days, then yeah, I would probably do it every day. Even a couple. I've done it several times a day. Like if I have yucky stuff in there, and I just want to get, it's like way up deep in your head, and I want to get it out, I'll do it a couple times a day. And so, with the knowledge that if you're prone to getting dried out, then you want to put some coconut oil in there pretty quick. Yeah. Or, like a steam, get some boiling hot water and then kind of go over that just to make sure everything's staying nice and warm and moist in there throughout the day. But outside of the side effect, is it just getting dry? And because the mucus is good, your body's smart, right? So you got to give it some time to replace that coat of mucus in there, right? Activated charcoal. Has anyone ever used this before?
I've used it as a face mask.
Okay. Yeah, my wife as well. Anyone else use it for anything else? Okay, good. If you have kids, it's great for poison, blah, blah, blah. But also great at reducing mucus and phlegm. And so I used to do this so regularly. It's just more kids and more stuff. I put it in my routine when I can. But coconut, you can get it from, it's like organic coconut. Basically, they just burn it. And so you get this super, I don't even want to open it up. So we keep ours in a little container because it is messy. you got to put it in a container first, and then I just take a teaspoon of that and a funnel in a bottle of water. Shake it up, and then it all that yucky, mucusy stuff, it has no taste whatsoever. Zero taste. And it kind of just gets it all down right into the stomach, right? And the only weird bad side effect they might see is black poo, right? But really no taste, so anyone, the kids can do it, very easy. And if you're mucusy, yes.
Because we have the
capsules?
Yeah, is it the same thing or does it work?
It depends, it's how quickly does it dissolve?
Okay.
Right. Well, yeah, so probably not.
Okay.
Yes. Yeah, probably not. Because you want it in your mouth, really kind of, to get some of that, mucus coating, when you're producing too much of that stuff. Again, this is all stuff this is tested. This is what we use. This is not, it might work, maybe. It works. It's just, to what degree it works for you guys, everyone's a little different. Local raw honey, why is local important?
Surrounding.
Yeah, yes, it's what bees get it from, right? So that's probably what you're allergic to, so you're getting little tidbits of it into you. Yeah. Manuka honey is great just because it is antimicrobial. You can get it at Costco, you can get it at, not Costco as much anymore, but Sprouts. But this is kind of like the medicine in the medicine cabinet in our house.
Do you just take a spoonful of it or what?
Yeah, like a teaspoon, or smaller actually, usually smaller, for the honey. Essential oils, tea tree oils in the ear. So many of you guys, I talked about the adjusting of the ear. The kids, younger kids, you pull more out. Adults, you kind of pull more up and out. But the tea tree oil, knock on wood, my kids have never had an ear infection, but it's because of the protocols that we do with swimming, as well as this is something that we do on the regular basis. So we take a Q-tip, A drop of water on it, a drop of tea tree oil, which is Melaleuca or tea tree oil, and then we just go again inside the ear canal. And it really does help again with that drainage. So I'd recommend doing that, kind of rubbing the canal and through here, rubbing the eustachian tubes down the neck, excuse me, and it'll help drain as well. Great, easy one to do, very inexpensive. Yes?
What do you think about the ear candling?
I've had it done, I've heard mixed reviews. I couldn't say, I would do it again. I've heard people say it's useless. I've had another lady who was like partially deaf and she said it was great. So.
Yeah, I had used it years ago and I felt a big relief. But then people were telling me that it takes out too much.
I've seen both on that, so I'll leave that up to your discretion on that one. I think, like I said, I've heard some great stories on that. I've also had some like some of the supplements that you can get for joints. I've seen people do phenomenal with those, and I've seen people have zero benefit whatsoever. They're like, I just wasted my money, right? So, colloidal silver in the eyes. So many people get like just itchy, scratchy, irritated, bloodshot eyes, right? This is one that we use in our household. I've had videos of this before. People told me, oh, be careful. It's 99.9% water. Very easy. We do it on my son who's 3. We've done it in his eyes since he was like 1. If they have irritated eyes, colloidal silver. We haven't had any issues in our household, but try it on yourself first. But I don't think there should be any issue whatsoever with that.
I was just saying I need to maybe try that because not for allergies, but I have something.
Oh yeah, for eye drops. This is not. We're not talking about pink eye, but also this and apple cider vinegar for pink eye. Awesome.
Really?
Don't need antibiotics. No way. Yeah, I've helped so many moms and their kids over the years. Apple cider vinegar, not in the eye. Now, for the adults, we can dilute it, kind of like 3-to-1, 4-to-1, water, apple cider vinegar, and we can do a little in our eyes. It sucks, it burns, but it works. It's way better than pink eye, right? And then this, like on the regular. But for kids, what I've done for my daughter is, excuse me, we take this, and we just trace her around her eye. Yeah. And no need for antibiotics. Not an issue with that. Apple cider vinegar, one of the reasons for the probiotics, right? Helps balance and regulate the immune system. Hot peppers. Can anyone else agree with me? Hot, spicy food, when you're feeling kind of mucusy and crappy, right? It's just, sometimes we forget, but man, that hot spicy soup just helps it drain, man. It just helps it drain. Plus, it opens up your capillaries, your blood vessels. Boom, right? Opens up the passages, right? Eliminating dairy and sugar, 100%. That's a mucus producer. Sugar, same thing. Not good, right? So during that time, this is not the time to do ice cream. This is not the time to do a cheese pizza, right? Cut it down, because if you know that you're going to go outside, you're going to be exposed. Don't try to fight it with one arm behind your back, right? And enzymes green drink. So anyone that knows me, this is stuff I have one of these every day. My kids will drink a couple cups of these every day. Loxy is my witness. It's greens first, but you can get it. I have different types of green drinks, but this one, mostly organic, fruits and vegetables, full of enzymes, usually kind of dehydrated and ground up. We put it into cold water and drink it. Kind of, again, breaks up the mucus, and just the enzymes itself also help break up the mucus elsewhere. Next step. Cool. Makes sense, but sometimes, common sense is not very common these days. Right? Mm-hmm. So, anyone that also knows me, not the biggest fan of masks, and I'd be happy to have a real conversation with anyone about that. I think that real conversations are missing these days. Everyone just wants to hate on each other. I'll talk rational with anybody. I'm always learning. I have the ability, I want to keep learning. But vacuuming frequently for the obvious, right? But if you're using a vacuum that's just pushing it out the other end, make sure that you have a vacuum with a filter on it. Shoes at the door. Why is that, right? Why track all those allergens throughout the house? Smart idea. Clothes, we just made a video on that one, right? You go outside, you come back inside, or you rush and you want to go to that next thing. It's all over you. Now it's on you for longer. Now you're more likely to be having a problem. And when is this best? When you're doing it, right? When you're out and about. Long term. Vitamin D, why? Stabilizes and regulates the immune system. It's kind of more of a hormone than it is even a vitamin. Chiropractic, we talked about that, right? Balancing the immune system and better communication, and then sealing the gut, right? So many of our workshops, we talked about the bone broth, right? It's great stuff. That is the gristle and all the membranes and everything of that animal. When you ingest it, it's going to help seal that gut. Awesome. Kids will take it because if you can just give them chicken noodle soup, that's the actual part of the soup that's probably good for you, not the noodles. That really is awesome, healing good stuff right there. If you make it yourself, inexpensive, obviously you can even, it's become so mainstream nowadays, you can buy just about organic stuff just about anywhere. And then the opposite of that would be GMOs, which your body doesn't recognize it as food, right? And so it'll also, many of the times, form a reaction to that, right? And so now you're hyperactivating the immune system, so now you're on high alert, and then all of a sudden, allergens are around and you become more susceptible. And then we talked about the apple cider vinegar as well. Okay. Can't do a workshop without information without action is useless, right? It's like going to church and then like not actually doing anything with it. So I encourage you, I beg you to try to do this for 30 days, right? And if it's a loved one that you're with, do it as a family, right? And so that way there's some accountability that way. Take a picture. We can take a picture. We can email you guys. I'll probably post on Facebook with either a small video or just a picture of this. But think of these and 3 of them a day that you can commit to for 30 days, right? I can tell you, she's given me written permission to give her testimony. Sue is was a patient here for most of her adult life on 2 prescription allergy medications. And for her, it was a cost thing because she actually had to pay for these things. And so by doing, I added a few things on there, but by doing a challenge very similar to this for 30 days, and she worked in the schools and it wasn't super convenient, and she did not like the taste of apple cider vinegar, but she did it, she was able to come off the medication 100% completely. So it can happen, it works if you work it, right? Yes, ma'am.
So I was just, because the ACV, the apple cider vinegar, is not super palatable for most people. Can you, or would you suggest, because like we drink it with the honey in it, diluted in water,
Yeah, at first my wife was doing it with water. If you like it, like, I'm a weirdo, I like this stuff in my food. So I'll put it in a soup to cool the soup down. So if you are a salad person, you can put it on your salad and there's your apple cider vinegar. Just, don't leave it all at the end of the salad on the plate, right? If you're eating it with your food and you're doing about a shot that way, great. Some people dilute it with honey, and they do the honey and the apple cider vinegar and the water all together. Bragg's also make some drinks. Watch the sugar content, but they make some, what do they call them, tonics or something like that.
Yeah.
Some of them are pretty yummy that have the apple cider vinegar. Now, is it a shot?
They make, I think Sprouts has those little packets too that you can buy.
Yeah, the
and you-
fire starter, the one that your wife.
Yes.
Whoa,
Woo!
that's amazing.
Yeah.
Yes.
That
Yes.
clears you up right away.
So it has the spiciness and the apple cider vinegar.
It's like
Fire
honey
cider?
pepper,
Yeah.
I like
Yeah.
those a
Yeah.
little bit.
And you can get little packets, and it's almost like I just do it. Now, obviously for the little kids, a little bit harder. For teenagers, suck it up.
I'm just thinking, because that's how we get our kids to do it, is with the honey
Yeah.
and the water. And
Yeah,
stuff.
yeah, yeah.
Like, just an idea for you guys.
Yeah,
I love it. I do all of our dressings with it.
Yeah,
and I
for
mean,
sure.
We go through lots of it.
Right. I mean, that's why we buy it. I have one of these at home too. You know, this is what we do. But you know, kind of choose it and maybe even switching it around a little bit. But figuring out like kind of what, based on your symptoms, your lifestyle, what's going to work best for you, right? But if you are a person that really suffers like this, it's a great way to defeat it. And then, quite frankly, now your loved ones, your friends, maybe they're not here right now. You can be an influence to them and say, hey, what if you tried this? What if you tried this? What if you tried? Because these are the people that you'll see them. They're miserable, right? Have you tried this? Oh, I did it like once. You repeatedly do. So I encourage you, don't think of it as it's going to happen like one time. Kind of work the system. Work the system, and it'll work for you. So, any questions on any of that stuff?
Well, the apple cider vinegar gummies are good, or they're not.
It depends on the ingredients, but I would, anything that has gummy in it, guess what they probably also have in it?
Sugar.
Yeah. You know, we used to make one, Emily made it, she got this powder, it like turns into a gel, but it was like collagen powder, and so those gummies could be better, right? Because it's like whatever ingredient you put into it. But most of those gummies, they just make it so it's palatable, right? Kind of like kids' vitamins. Next workshop, this one's gonna be great. We have not talked a lot about toxicity here. Everyone right now is spraying crap on everything, right? You're probably not gonna avoid all of it, but maybe you can in your home, because you can't break some of these nature's laws, God's laws of toxicity, and not expect some consequences down the road. It's gonna happen. So we have everyone spraying everything with everything, right? All of us are ingesting that, or it's getting on, it's absorbing through our skin. We will see effects from this, right? So it's up to us to minimize some of that toxic exposure, so that way our future is a little bit better, right? And so, here we'll go over some basic things from deodorants to household cleaners to what you put on your skin and face, right? And then this will be kind of an active workshop. We'll actually make some of these things. I've done it in the past where we've made the deodorant. I haven't picked out which one we're gonna do yet, but if you have a strong suggestion, let me know. We've done deodorants, we've done body washes, which are awesome. That actually does have vodka in it for that little effervescent scrub. And so we've done body butters with essential oils and different oils. And so these are all awesome natural things that many of us ingest or slather on regularly, right? Obviously not to mention household cleaners, right? That we're using like crazy people these days, right? And so if we're going with the toxic stuff, think about it, people my parents' age, they weren't doing that, right? And so our toxic burden is so much higher than the generation before me, right? And so, and the next generation is even going to be worse. And so if we are doing something to detox or to change that around, it catches up with us, right? It catches up with us. So we're going to go over some hints on that one. Just like today, we're going to try to make it practical, reasonable. None of this, can everyone see themselves buying something like that? Does this look super ridiculously expensive right here? No, right? We're talking like a couple bucks. A couple bucks that this will last you a long time. This has lasted me years, right? This will last you a month, a couple years, probably a year or two, right? So inexpensive way to switch to a little healthier mindset, right? And no one's perfect. You don't have to be perfect with it, but if you start incorporating a little bit of this, then maybe you just switch just your deodorant next time, right? And then maybe next year we try one other cleaning thing. Maybe it's the body butter that you want to use, right? And so now, 5 years from now, you're coming to this workshop. Oh yeah, I got that one. Oh yeah, I did that one 2 years ago. and then we're seeing where our lifestyle, it gets easier and easier to make these changes, and we're healthier because of that. That's my goal for y'all. Any other questions for me tonight? Thank you guys for coming on a Tuesday. Hopefully, we'll see you Tuesday, April 13th, so about a month away. We'll have limited spots again available next time, just because of where we're at right now, unless something changes that I don't know of. Who knows, things are changing. We hope to see you there next time. So raise a hand, who's going to do the challenge, or a version of it? Go. Yeah. Awesome. Thank you, guys. I was gonna bring my other one. I have another one the kids don't like as much. It's chocolate.
For the next chocolate? Yeah, absolutely. Let me,
The kids don't like the chocolate one?
I order it because I'm a chiropractor, and so you can get this is the pro one. It'll just say not for table. It's like missing like 3 or 4 things. I've had other patients do it. I think you should be able to get the non-pro one online somewhere.
All right. Thank you.
So is the drinks stuff, is that something, because my kids are drinking all of our
Oh, cool.
like every single day they're making things. Is that something that I can throw in there before though?
You could, I wouldn't. Just because that one has it's sweetened with stevia, and it's minty flavor. So I think I wouldn't like that. They might like it, but we don't. Like my kids literally just have it straight up with like water.
Because like our younger two,
Wait, how old are you?
my younger two are 11 and 10. No, 10 and 13. What did they just say? 11 and 10? I don't know how. 13 and 10. And they, I mean, I think the only thing, yeah, and I think the only green things that they eat are raw.
I mean, I've made some slight.
Even my 3-year-old who is super picky and hard to get him to eat healthy things.
Okay.
Yeah.
Because I'm thinking, oh, that might be good.
Yeah.
Well, the funny thing is, we're gonna list all the different things that there might even be a part of that.
Or sushi. I'll eat sushi like it's your business, but he won't eat.
I don't have it printout at the moment, but I'll let you take a picture and then I'll.
I was gonna mention too, I didn't know, with the fermented foods, let's make sure maybe it needs to be the raw stuff.
You're talking about this
You know, not like the.
and honestly, I even forgot to bring it. Like I had kimchi for lunch today. And so
Well, and I don't know if you've ever done a fermented food workshop. If you have
we
not.
haven't.
But I would be willing to help you or teach it for you because
Yes.
I've done a couple back at home. I'm
Yes,
not
I would love to.
Before we moved here, I fermented everything. Like the kids are like, this is just my mom's science station.
Open on your stomach.
Crazy cool stuff.
Yeah, we had a CSA
Pulling it back on a shelf.
crop share. I can't talk tonight, and so we always had tons of vegetables, and I just fermented the heck out of it.
We had talked about it, and I had someone like you before as a patient, but said that they would do it. It never came to fruition a couple years ago. I would love to do that. We could put it on the books.
Yeah.
And it's
Now-
so easy. I think if people just understand
It doesn't.
How long does it actually take?
And sometimes some orange.
It depends on the weather. More than
That's it?
Well, I think in a warmer climate like this, I think you're like a jar of fermented food would be done in like 3 days.
No way.
Yeah.
the temperature, I mean, you keep it cooler.
During the winter, it takes longer, probably 5 to 7 days.
That's it?
Yeah.
Yeah, no, I got it right. Because there's a
I don't know if there's.
Yeah, you can do it
feel like that. I
in
didn't
its
like
own brine,
orange,
or you can add the
flavored
like
stuff.
probiotic
So
starter. Yeah.
started
So.
So yeah, we
I
just
like
did the stuff, the
oranges,
organic stuff from
but I
Costco.
don't like orange.